We go, brother Gino.
Conor, how are you?
Very good. Very good. Back in the podcast. Actually, the third podcast that we've ever done together.
Yeah.
But the first two were on yours. Obviously, we're going to talk about all the kind of irons that you have in the fire, of course. Like, you've been doing content for quite a while, actually, and it's something I've been looking at for like the last couple of years. Actually, seeing yourself and Sam make stuff, and went on your podcast in November 2021, and then was it December 2022? So kind of almost 1 year apart. Now we're in November 2023, so it's almost every year we're doing podcasts. I'd say with how developments go in Dubai, we might do them a bit more often here. We'll have to see.
As well, we've went from like Zoom to off a phone in a room, and now we're in a proper studio. Like, so the progression is real.
That's it. It's the higher consciousness meme kind of playing out there with all of that. But obviously, we'll get into all your stuff there. Like for background, obviously, we're from the same hometown. Like a lot of people who might be coming to this from my Twitter, there'll be people from America and stuff like that. But we're literally from the same hometown. We kind of more so met each other through doing kind of more alternative kind of things.
Yeah.
Like be it entrepreneurship or just different kind of pursuits like that, and sort of like converge there, later on, not necessarily being like, playing sports together when we were like 10 years old or anything that. But yeah, that's kind of back in that we're from the same hometown, moved over to Dubai. So I'd like to kind of give people a bit of background in terms of like your career, because it is quite interesting from when you obviously went to college, then kind of found out that wasn't necessarily what you wanted to do, got into sales, became progressively more successful in that with selling cars. You've had entrepreneurial kind of a lot of entrepreneurial exploits as well, and now you're over in Dubai. You've decided to relocate from Ireland to Dubai. I give people a brief chronology of how you kind of got to where you are now.
So finished secondary school, like most people with absolutely no idea what you want to do.
Classic.
So the only valid option was muster up my tiny amount of Leaving Cert points I had and see what course I could do. So I went into like a business course in Cork and CIT. And I remember starting it, and my dad was like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And he was like, "What is the course?" I was like, "I don't really know." I was like, "It'll be fine." And he was just like, "Okay." So like, just for background, my dad is like, he's had his own businesses since he was like 15. So he'd never done his Leaving Cert. I think he dropped out of school when he was like 16. He at the time he used to put like kind of poker machines in bars in Dublin. That was kind of his thing back in like, I suppose, the 70s or whatever. And then he used to manage a chipper, his uncle's chipper in Dublin. So then he never went to college, never went to school, and he just had his own businesses throughout. So when I told him I wanted to study business in college, he was kind of like, "What the fuck is this guy on about?" Like, but anyway, so I went and did like 3 or 4 months of just partying, all the stuff you're not meant to be doing, basically, like dropped out. But I didn't actually tell my parents I dropped out originally. So I stayed there for a little while longer, then dropped out. And then they were like, "What are you going to do? You have to pick something." So at the time, my dad had actually just bought a house he was doing up. So it was like a little small house, and it was complete renovation. So he put me on site in the house building. So I was just assisting whatever worker was in. So carpenters, tilers, I was like kangoing floors,
getting the tea,
all this kind of stuff. So that was his little test to like let me know, right, if you don't figure something out, John, because you're not going to be good at this, so this is what your life is going to be. So that's kind of what he gave me. So I did that for like 3 months. Then I was like, okay, yeah, I want to go back to college. And he was like, why? What do you want to do? Like, and I was like, I picked this course. It was like automotive transportation management or something like that. And again, 2 months in, I was like, oh god, I was like, this isn't it. So there was one module in that course about like car dealerships, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of relatively interesting. But originally, like from 2 or 3 years before that, my mother was onto me about going into car sales when I was like 18, before I went to college.
Really?
Yeah, because we had a family friend, Barry was his name, and I was like the page boy at his wedding, let's say, and then his daughter, me and her would have grown up together. And he was in car sales. Mm-hmm. And my mum knew it was like a good job, and she always thought I'd be good at it because I was like a talker anyway, like, or a bullshitter, as she'd say. But so she kind of wanted me to do that, and then I never really thought much about it. And then when I came out of college, I started applying for jobs around Cork, but like CV in hand, going into like car dealerships. And now, after working in car dealerships, I know exactly what happened to them CVs every time I handed them in. But at the time, it seemed like a great idea. And eventually then that same guy, Barry, actually got me a job in a BMW garage in Cahir, so back where we were from.
But was that in Morrison's?
Morrison's, yeah. But it wasn't a sales job. And I was under the impression it was kind of like a junior sales job. So I turned up like, not in a suit, but I turned up in like a jumper and chinos and stuff like that. And then they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have trouble washing cars in them clothes."
Oh no! But that's a big for as well. Even though that's in Care, it's a small enough town. That's a big garage.
Yeah, it was a big dealership. Yeah, and in fairness, they took me in, and it was basically a summer job. But I dropped out of college for it, and then I never asked. You know, it was my own fault. I was just like, a job, yeah, cool. Drop out of this course, go do that. So I was there for about a month washing cars, and then a job came up in Waterford, like junior sales role or whatever. So I applied for that in Boland's in Waterford. So if anyone's from like Waterford area, there's like 40 Boland's garages. They're owned like by like four brothers, really, really successful.
That's all in one little strip. I know
it's on the Cork Road. Yeah.
What time is that? Was that this would have been 2018?
2017.
2017.
July 2017. Yeah. I started selling cars.
I remember working in Tesco. I was on the till, and I think you had just posted on Facebook or something like that about having gotten a new role, and I said congrats to you on it at the till.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. And you're like, oh yeah, sound.
Yeah.
So that would have been late 2017 or early 2018 because I just started college at that point. I was in Tesco. Yeah.
I actually remember that, but I didn't know. I don't remember it as you, but now that you say it, like obviously. Like,
just trying to make chronology here. Yeah. So then you get the job in Boland's, and then how does that sort of play out?
Yeah. So I did a junior role then in Boland's. So junior roles generally are like 3 to 6 months. They're kind of like car sales isn't really like by the book or anything, so you don't have to do a junior role. But I was only 19 at the time, or 19 going on 20. I would have turned 20 in September, I think. I think that's about right. But so I went into like a Peugeot dealership down in Waterford. Got trained up then, and then after about 2 or 3 months I started selling cars. So the first month I sold like 4 cars or something like that, and then they moved me then to one of their garages in Kilkenny. So that was the one thing with the Boland's, which was kind of a problem.
It was the Kilkenny job. That was the one I congratulated.
Because everyone kind of congratulated me that because not to trick people, but I'd put up as like working in an Audi dealership, and then people who don't know anything about car sales like, oh, he's working in Audi, that's amazing. But really, truthfully, you're actually much better off working in like a Peugeot, Renault, because it's all numbers. You know what I mean? Car sales is about numbers. So you sell 3 times more Renaults than you're going to sell Audis. You know what I mean? And most of the time you're getting paid the same amount.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like at the time I was getting like a percentage of the profit, but that's dead now in car sales. So it's usually just a bonnet price. So like could be anywhere from 100 to 200 euros a car, depends on your garage or whatever. So you're actually much better off in like a smaller dealership, or like not a smaller, but like a
higher volume dealership.
Yeah, higher volume. But then you're like, you have to drive a Renault or a Dacia Duster company car when you could be driving like an Audi A6 or whatever. So I went anyway. I was there. I was in Kilkenny for about a year and a bit, and then they moved me again to their Range Rover dealership. And then this was like, that was a killer for me because I was like, I knew exactly what it was like in there. It was like, you know, if you sold 2 cars a month, you were doing great kind of thing. Like it's a slow brand. It's a very slow brand. So I was in there for about a week, and I asked them, I was like, look, I know you opened a garage in Cork. I want to move to Cork. Can you move me down there? Like, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll move you eventually. And I was like, okay. I waited like a week, and I was like, nah. So I started applying for jobs in Cork. Got a job in Cork then in Keary's, which was a big dealership in Cork at the time, or still a huge dealership in Cork. Hyundai garage. Worked there for about 6 weeks, hated it. Just didn't get on well with the people I was working with. So I rang my old boss back in Boland's, and I was like,
tail
look,
between the legs.
Yeah, I was like, look, I'm in Cork. This didn't really work out. I was like, can I please have a job in that garage in Cork? So he was like, yeah, go on. Look, we'll fit you in. Meet me. So I met him like that week or whatever, and it was fine. So I went into like a Hertz car sales garage in Cork. And that's where I met then the manager there was Paul O'Connor. That's his name. So he actually ended up being my boss before I moved here. So he was the manager there, and then it was me, Paul, and then Jack. It was Jack Martin, who was just opened his own garage also in Clonmel now, like 3 months ago or 2 months ago. So it was the 3 of us working then, and this was like this was like a little gold mine for us at this stage because it was just volume, used cars, finance deals,
the boiler room.
Yeah, and there was just the 3 of us in there, and we were just banging them out, and then eventually, so full circle. Then Barry, who was the original guy who got me into car sales, technically, rang me up, and he was a manager of a garage in Cork now. And he was like, look, I need a salesman. Do you want to come over here? So he made me an offer. I took it. And then I went back to Keary's Hyundai, just in a different garage where he was working in Middleton. Then I worked there throughout COVID for about 3 years.
So that was the longest stint?
That was the longest stint, yeah. Because of COVID, it was kind of broken up a bit. So it actually didn't feel like the longest, but it was definitely the longest stint. And then I opened... So we're in like COVID now, so 2021 maybe at this stage. And then I opened Cafe Pompeii, me and Sam. I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. But when I went and opened that, then I was kind of given an ultimatum in work. They're like, well, you can't do both. So I was like, well, I can. I was like, why does it matter? And then they were like, no, you can't do both. Like, when you're in sales, you need to be focused on selling, not focused on this other thing. And then they were like, oh, and you have this YouTube channel as well. And they didn't really like that. So I was like, right, well, that's enough for me. So I just left. So then I took a year out basically to try to do Cafe Pompeii, which failed. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But then after that, started working for Paul. So I was kind of doing a few bits for Paul throughout that year anyway. And then one of his sales guys left. So he's like, look, I know you're not in car sales anymore. Do you want this job? So I was like, yeah, I knew Paul would be good to work for. So I went working there, and I was there for about a month and a half. And Paul went on holidays to Dubai with his missus. And he came back and he was like, oh man, if I was you, I'd be living over in Dubai. Like, he's like, I'd go into like real estate or something over there. He's like, you're mad over here. And he just said that passing, like, and he just went about his business. And next minute,
it seems like quite an impactful character. If you have yourself, Jack, and him in the boiler room back in Cork for a while, just dishing out the cars, and then he comes back and says that you seem to value he seems quite a pivotal character in your life.
Yeah, Paul's a G. He is a G. He's really like, I'm sure Jack would say the same. Like, Paul managed to build a huge garage in like 3 years, like turning over like 40, 50, 60 cars a month.
Is that highly unusual?
In that small length of time, yeah, 100%. Like a lot of these like main dealers would only do like 30 cars a month. Paul just, but he knows exactly how to market himself. He's like built a huge following on Instagram, huge following on TikTok. He treats customers really, really well, gives good warranty, but he buys the right cars. So a lot of time in main dealers, because you're strapped to a brand, let's say Hyundai, if someone comes in with their i30 and it's like brown in color or whatever, you have to take it off them, like, because it's the brand. So you have to. But Paul, like, if someone comes in with a car he doesn't want, he just doesn't take it. And then when he's buying cars, he's out searching for like white BMWs, white Audis, blue BMWs, Estra. He knows what sells and he buys it, and therefore we sell more, and therefore it's a better place to work. And then he takes really good care of his staff, because it's very personal, because it's only him. Then there was 2 sales, so me and Marty in sales, and then just like his team and the mechanic team or whatever. So Paul, was on to me about going to Dubai, but he kind of just said it in passing. And next minute I'm just sitting there stewing away, thinking like, I should be doing something like that. Do you know what I mean? I've been in car sales now my entire adult life, so I'm like 6.5 years or whatever in car sales, which is a long time when you're 25 years old. Like, so I was like, right, I need to go, and then I started looking into it, and I came over then that was March. I was over here then by September.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in how just a brief one on the economics of car sales, how that actually works. So are you paid a base, and then you're saying just per bonnet, just per unit sold, essentially? Yeah,
basically. So like you'd have a base salary. So in Ireland, when I first started, my first base salary was 16k. But like as time goes on, I think the average now is somewhere between like 25 and 30k, and then you get per bonnet. So like, I'd say on average probably 150 to 170 euros a bonnet per car. And then there can be other things, like there's some products that you sell, gap insurance and like paint protection, all that you can get paid from. And also then finance companies will pay you commission as well.
Gotcha.
Which you'd make like a bad car salesman will make about 40 to 50 grand a year. A good car salesman will like 60, 70. And then there's some guys out there making like 100, 110 in Ireland. Like,
definitely wish I probably got into something like that a bit earlier than I did.
Yeah.
As in just recognizing your actual talents and somewhere where you can be quite good with very little effort. Not that you shouldn't work hard at something, but if you're a fish, swim, don't try and climb a tree.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
There are certain things I've done in the past where I'm like, why did I ever think that would be a good idea?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like the easier something is for you, the harder you can work at it also, like, because you're more interested. It's just basics, like, really, like,
exactly. That becomes a virtuous cycle kind of thing. It just feeds back on itself like that. But so this brings us up. So you had 6.5 years in car sales. That's a long time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because with a year break, to be fair, there was a year break in there.
With a year break, but if you think about people our age, mid-20s, who stay in a job for 5.5 years, even, it's actually quite rare.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's the complete opposite to our parents' generation.
Yeah.
People generally tend to, like, a progression you would see that's quite common is people work in a massive company, then move to progressively smaller companies every couple of years and get paid more. That seems to be quite a progression that people follow. So from there, so you seem to sort of have this ultimatum. This is during COVID. This 2021. You have an ultimatum from this garage where you can't do your YouTube, you can't do this brand concurrently with the job. And I would be interested to hear now after this what Paul kind of thought of this, because obviously he was like, yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But what sort of happened there in that incident with that person, and how did this sort of follow into Cafe Pompeii?
So basically, it had come up a couple of times about the YouTube video, about my YouTube videos at the time, and we were making quite a lot of them. Me and Sam were doing 3 a week at the time, which was overkill, huge overkill. But we thought that was what you needed to do. So I was doing a single, Sam was doing a single, and then we'd meet on the weekends and do one together, the two of us. And I think I said something on a video before, and then it was kind of like thrown back in my face in a meeting, or I can't remember the exact ins and outs of it, and I was kind of like, oh, he's obviously, I know where he got that from, he's obviously watching the video. And then he brought it up to me again. He was like, oh, these videos, why don't you talk about car sales in them, or why don't you like try to sell Hyundais on them or whatever? And I was kind of like, yeah, I was like if you're going to,
it's a very low IQ thing to say.
Yeah, so I was like, look, if it's going to keep you off my back, I did make a video. So I made a video, and it's actually not one of our most viewed, but it actually got it got about 1,000 views or something. But it was just like the benefits of buying a new car in Ireland, and there is benefits to it. So I just broke him down, and he never really said anything about it, but he kind of got off my back then after that. But it was just like, I said it to him at the time. I was like, if I was like leaving work at 6 o'clock and going playing rugby in the evening, you wouldn't care. Like, why do you care that there's just like a YouTube video? It's taking the same amount of time, and they'd be like, no, we're not. We don't care. We're just checking in and like make sure you're not doing it in work and all this. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then when it came to Cafe Pompeii, then it was like, now there's a conflict, because now you're trying to sell coffee and sell cars, and that was where they had the issue. And I was kind of like, but to be fair, I do think my numbers were lower. I think my sales numbers were lower in the garage too. I think if I was doing more numbers at the time, they wouldn't have cared as much, because I was in, like, not making excuses, but my interest at this stage was kind of lost in them in the garage. And then it was like kind of quiet anyway at the time. And then we were in like Middleton, and we were being compared to like the Cork dealership, which is obviously doing more numbers. And I think I came in there from like with high expectations, because I was doing numbers in the previous garage, and then I kind of went from like this high output used car garage into the main dealer kind of world, and I think it just didn't jive. I think I didn't perform like they thought, and then I was doing these other things which looked like distractions, and like I get it. I never hold a grudge on them for it, and like I still have them on LinkedIn, and I like I don't actually hold a grudge on them for it. Probably the best thing that could have happened, really. But it was just a little bit shitty, like, but I didn't really. For
sure, but then it led to you going to somewhere else that you preferred a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Might be slightly changing tack here, but then that obviously leads into Cafe Pompeii. But actually, before we get to that, because that was just that incident, what was the genesis of the YouTube? So Sam's from Care as well, so he didn't go he went to different schools.
Yeah, I didn't know
Sam. So then, how did you guys meet and then decide, okay, we're going to start talking about personal finance and investing and business and travel and so on and so forth?
So I met Sam.
You might not want to share how you met, given the smirk, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I can break it down a little bit. So I met Sam. I was in college the second time I went to college, and I knew who he was because when we were younger, we had each other on Facebook, and his name was
Jam Scones. I remember that as well, yeah.
And I hated that. I thought that was the least funny thing ever, and I had like a distaste towards this man. But what really happened was, at the time, so second year, the second time I went to go to college, I had a girlfriend from Care, and through her, I actually met, even though our relationship ended probably pretty badly, and she probably doesn't have much time for me now, more than likely, but I'm always actually very grateful for the relationship, because I met all my best friends through her. So I met
a lot of the lads would be from Ardfinnan.
Yeah, so I met like Sam, I met Adam Kennedy. There was a few other friends that maybe wouldn't be as close with anymore, but Sam and Kennedy are like some of my closest friends, especially Sam, obviously. But because me and Sam ended up doing a lot together. But it was through her I met Kennedy, and I don't know if you've ever met him, but he's a goof. And I got evicted from a house I was living in Cork the first week in Freshers Week. Yeah,
I actually remember hearing about that.
Yeah, so there was like 3 or 4 of us in the house, and then I got evicted instantly, and then the other 2 were given 2 weeks the other 3 were given 2 weeks to leave. What had happened was there was a 5th guy in the house who was there all the time, and it turns out he was actually a nephew of the landlord. But sure, we didn't really know that. He didn't mention that. No, there was none of that. And then just usual Freshers Week kind of carry on. And I got evicted. I was the original. It was actually the only bit of racism I ever felt for the Italian as well, because the landlord kept calling me Pinot Grigio instead of Gino. I remember telling my dad, and he was like, "What?"
Pinot Grigio.
And like people have often asked me, "Have you ever had like anyone like be xenophobic towards you because you're Italian. I was like, no, except for this one guy. I was like, I'll never forget it. But yeah, anyway, so I ended up moving into Dean's Hall.
Wait, in Bishopstown?
In Bishopstown, yeah. They were nice. They weren't a bad apartments.
No, it's just a decent bit out.
Well, no, you see, I was in CIT, like.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So it was all the one to me.
Yeah,
like,
all the one, yeah.
So I was in CIT, so I was in Dean's Hall in Bishopstown, and I ended up living right across from Kennedy. So Adam Kennedy lived right across the hall from me.
What was that accommodation across the one like on the other side of the road from Dean's Hall, that red brick?
Oh no, you're not thinking of Dean's Hall. You're thinking of
No, I'm thinking of Dean's Hall, but there's another one there. You know, with the Apache pizza there.
Yeah. I know the one you're talking about, but that's on like the complete opposite side of the CIT.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't remember Brookfield, and then there was Parchment.
Parchment, that was it. Parchment Square, yeah.
Yeah, Parchment was kind of the big one. Like
that was trenches, man.
Yeah. That was where a lot of people lived. But anyway, through Kennedy, I ended up meeting Sam, so we all lived on the second floor. So I was this apartment, Kennedy was this apartment, and then Sam was this. So all our balconies were like lined together. And then he was like, oh, I'll take you to meet Sam. And I was like, I don't want to meet that guy. I was like, I don't want to meet Jam Scones. And I go into his room at the time, and he was like, he had like all this cheese laid out, and he was like eating cheese off a knife. And it was like playing jungle music.
I hope like a charcuterie board.
No, like
not like cheese sticks or what's a cheese string, whatever. Just
it was like really, really good cheese, but like not laid out well. Just a plate with loads of cheese on it and a knife, and he was just scooping it, playing FIFA with jungle music on in the room. And I was just like,
this is like a cutscene. Yeah. This man's about to give you a side quest.
Yeah. So I meet this guy, and then, I don't know, eventually we started getting on well. I have no idea how we started the YouTube channel. And I only watched our first video the other day. It was so bad. Like, it was so terrible. And I remember us recording it in my room at the time. And we were like, this is deadly. This is so good. Oh, man, it's killer. But, like, Joe, that you have to start somewhere. So it's like, yeah, it's normal.
It is funny, yeah. I actually can think of a couple of friends very close friends, where the first time I met them, we just abjectly didn't like each other.
Yeah.
And then over time, I sometimes think you can almost get on with anyone in the right circumstances.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's sort of through hanging around someone for a long period of time, you just sort of learn to get on with each other more. So you see a different side of the person that they don't readily show the rest of the world. Like my two closest friends in Clonmel, we absolutely didn't like each other when we first met.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And like my two best friends from home absolutely completely disliked each other when we first met, and then over time it was one day it was just like, oh, I fucking love you.
It's kind of eventually like
it's weird how that sort of turns out, but it also does make you realize, oh man, in under the right circumstances you probably could get on with anyone, unless it's, you know, Joseph Fritzl or something like that. You know, but if it's someone who's an okay person, then that's fine. But did you would have obviously left and gone into car sales and stuff like that after a while, but when actually did the YouTube channel start? Were you in college when it began, or was it a bit later?
It was way after. Like, yeah, there was a whole lifetime before it started, to be honest. Like, at that stage, when I met Sam, he went on and finished college. So he did 4 years in BIS. So that would have been his second year. So he did 2 more years in college. At that stage then, for his final year, I moved back to Cork. So that's when I went to Kiri's the first time. So I moved back to Cork. So it would have been like he would have been out of college like a year and a half, 2 years by the time we started. So I was living in Rochestown by the time we started. It would actually, so November.
Were you living with Stuart at the time?
No, Tim was. And then Stuart ended up moving out, Tim moved out, and then me and Tim ended up getting an apartment in the exact same block.
I think I know the block as well.
Yeah. So whenever we did the interview, the first one, so what was that, 21 we said?
November 21, yeah.
So it's a funny reason why I remember, because I remember I had a breakup a month after I started the channel. So 21, November, July, June. Would have been like May 21 we started the channel.
Okay.
Because I remember we just started it, and I was like putting in all this work, and then I remember getting broken up with. And then I was like, Sam, I can't do these videos anymore. I took like 2 weeks off. Sam was like, oh, it's okay, you'll get back to him soon.
The next thing was your turn. Your turn to just eat from a cheese board and just kind of feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah. So I was like, I think I remember. Yeah. So it would have been probably around May 21. We did our first video. But do you know what? We took a dangerous route, and I was happy we changed from it, because that financial advice stuff it's a fucking dangerous game. Like,
Can you get sued for?
you can get sued for it. People have gotten sued massively for it, but it's also like boring as shit. Like, who cares? Like, and I learned that real fast. I remember like Sam loved it. You see, Sam's a proper nerd. He proper loved it. But it came to a stage I was just making videos because that was our topic.
Gotcha.
And I was enjoying the idea of making content, but I much preferred like lifestyle kind of. Like, I rather talking about something like, I've always been okay like managing money, and I've always been okay for making money, but I'm not that. I'm not rich. I'm not like mega rich. So I'm here giving advice about like buying stocks or whatever, and I only have like 20,000 euro worth of stocks to my name, and then I'm like, it's just like.
But still, there could be someone there who has 20 euro worth of stocks to their name, and they could be wondering how you did that in a short enough time frame.
Yeah, I guess so, but like. It was a dangerous route. So I remember one day saying to Sam, I was like, I think we need to change tactics here a little bit. I was like, I was like, we're not growing that fast. The videos aren't getting many views. Like, we're at a stage, it started off, we're getting like 100, 200, 300. Then we had like a couple that got like, Sam had one that got like 10,000 views. On YouTube, it's very hard to get 10,000 views. So we had a few ones. And then I bought my own apartment, and that one did well, like 6,000 or 7,000 views. And then I was like to Sam, I was like, the stuff that's getting views isn't about stocks. When we do a stock video, it gets 10 views. And then when we do a video about like renting in Cork, or like moving to Australia, or buying a property when you're 23, they're the videos that are getting so much more views.
A bit more sensational, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's just more relatable too. Like, realistically, if you're going buying stocks, the only thing to do is just buy the S&P 500. If you want to be boring, just buy the S&P 500, and you get a share of the top 500 companies in the US, and you're fine. You're trying to pick stuff, just give it. But you only learn. It comes with time. You learn that. You kind of learn that stuff. And then crypto, like, again, such a dangerous space to be giving advice on. Like, it's like, we made a bit of money on it, but it's like, no one really knows what's happening. So you're giving all this advice, or like giving these opinions, and then they go tits up fast.
I think that can actually be dangerous for some of the things you can put out on the internet can almost be dangerous for you following that pursuit, in the sense that if you were getting your dopamine from talking about the pursuit, you'll actually be less inclined to want to. That can be more stimulating than the pursuit itself, so you might fall away from the pursuit. Obviously, my experience in looking at this is that I know many people who are gurus, and then their original business falls apart, or they were just full of shit to begin with, let's say. And I know many people like this. I just value a peaceful life, so I don't say who.
Yeah.
But it's the I would see a distinction in terms of posting things online, where one is heavy tutorial based, like kind of what you're talking about there, where it kind of saps the dopamine out of you to do the original thing. And also after a while you're like, here, fuck this. This is very boring. And after a while you run out of stuff to talk about, because it's not like you're generating alpha in the original activity. And then there is sort of what you're doing now, and what I aim to do once we're at a bloody Black Friday and I'm not working 14 hours a day, but one where it's just, here's my life, here's what I'm doing, not trying to sell you anything or anything like that. Just want to post this. Maybe you'll find it interesting, maybe you won't. Maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So it's sort of it's kind of a low obligation kind of thing for the viewer. It's like, I'm doing some interesting things. I enjoy doing these interesting things. Maybe you might enjoy watching me do them, rather than, heavy technical, you should do this, you should do that kind 100%. Of thing. It gets very, very boring, very fast.
People love it. People love the lifestyle content. Like, of course. I've been doing...
And it's valuable, actually.
Oh, it's so valuable.
Even if I were to, sorry to jump in, if I were to see, let's say, Mike Thurston, for instance, our great friend from the yacht party.
Close buddy, yeah.
But I'd met him before, a time before that, and I was saying to him how even I found like his lifestyle content often more valuable than, let's say, the technical things he does, because you're looking at that and you set your mind to something from there. And not to get woo woo, I do enjoy visualization and things like that, but if you spend most of your waking time thinking about something, odds are you'll get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and there with the lifestyle that he puts out, you're thinking, man, someone else can do this, so why not me? Yeah,
and it's definitely, again, without getting into this visualizing and stuff, like, because when I hear people talk about it, all I think is, shut up. But like, I know for a fact now, looking back, not doing it on purpose, but I've thought about things and I've imagined things, and I can see them slowly coming into fruition. Do you know what I mean? And one guy I actually love, and I know you're not his biggest fan, and I know like on Twitter as well, people are like tearing him apart, but I only watch half his content, is Iman Gadzhi.
I would say I'm like not a big fan in a sense. I think he's a phenomenal creator. I think he's the single best person at personal branding I've ever seen in my
His
entire
personal
life.
branding is immense. It's so good.
No, he's the
And
single best person at personal branding I've ever seen.
it's so good.
It's
And
just
I
that-
literally watch his videos. So I don't watch like I seen he released a video the other day and everyone on Twitter was going mad and it's like, this is your last chance to I'm not even clicking on whatever it's my last chance to do, because I've seen that you've said it's my last chance 4 or 5 times now. But if I see like a day in the life of Iman Gadzhi, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to see, because he's in Dubai. He's a pretty normal, like he's 23 years old, pretty normal guy. I recognize the places he's in now because I'm in these places too. So he's in the Mall of Emirates. I was in the Mall of Emirates 2 days ago. He's in Dubai Mall. And I'm like, I am, what's the word? I am
Skeptical.
No, I'm very like, what's the word? Like materialistic. And I can admit I am. Do you know what I mean? So like I like watches, I like clothes, I like cars, which obviously he has a lot of, which I like too. And I know like some people think it's a bad thing to be motivated by that kind of stuff. And like I've been to the stage where you buy it and you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, that wasn't it. And I get it, but I do like it, and I do like the lifestyle of it. And I've just always like that. Like I do want a nice house. I want nice cars. I want nice things.
Of course.
And of course you need money to get them. And some people don't, but I think people who say they don't are either, there's some people who really, really don't care, who like really, really don't care. But other people, I think they just prefer not to admit that they care about that kind of stuff.
Of course not. Yeah. And these things fall into a life philosophy. In some ways, like materialism is a life philosophy, which is that matter is more important than, let's say, the abstract or whatever you think or you feel, let's say. Then idealism is the exact opposite of that. And from one perspective, whatever angle the light shines on it, it's correct from that perspective.
Yeah.
You know, these things are all, from one angle, they're all correct.
Yeah.
All these different life philosophies. You know, these things, like you hear Floyd Mayweather talking about the finer things in life back in those old Showtime 24/7 episodes before his fights. Amazing. Definitely go back and watch those if you haven't seen him. Just incredible mindset training.
Yeah, Floyd's nuts.
But yeah, I'd completely agree with that. On that thing with the what we were saying before with the content side of things. I think I'm after losing my train of thought with that, but.
Oh yeah, we kind of steered off it.
But no, sorry. It's that your mind can you can kind of set yourself to, you can set your mind to things like that, and you know, from seeing someone actually living their life in that way.
Yeah,
and it can actually be more valuable for you than technical sort of content, just because it actually shows you that it's possible. In the first place. And
it's a thing, like you're either motivated by it or you're demotivated by it. And I find here, like for example, when I'm driving to work, where our offices are in work, it's in a place called the Golden Diamond Park, which is on Sheikh Zayed Road, which is basically a mall for diamonds and gold. So right beside our work is a mall for diamonds and gold. And our trainer, he was telling me like he's walked out of our office in the past and he's seen like Floyd Mayweather like literally in the car park getting into his with his entourage after buying a load of diamonds or gold or watches. He's seen the Tates there like multiple times back when they were kind of living around here. Jason Derulo, just all these like really
Jason
famous.
Derulo, yeah. Floyd Mayweather, you have the Tates, and of course Jason Derulo.
Jason
right
Derulo.
There. I think Neo and Nelly, maybe Nelly as well was there.
But so driving in, so when you're driving in, before you hit this Golden Diamond Park, they have all the car dealerships. So you've got a Lamborghini main dealer, McLaren, Ferrari. Then you've got these used cars. So there's like GQ, I think is one of them. But there's like 7 Bugattis. So on my little spin, this 5 minute when I come off Sheikh Zayed Road, just through the industrial park, basically, I see like 5 Bugattis. I could see 30 Ferraris. I see, and like some people be like, oh, I'm driving my Nissan Sunny, and I'm like, oh. But like that motivates the shit out of me, like, and I'm just like, all that stuff. It's not there for fun, like, someone's in there buying this stuff, like, and you see people driving around, you see like the watches, you see everything, and you're like, yeah, you're definitely in the right place to get there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Why not you?
Yeah. Why couldn't that be me? Or even like in work, I find I've spoken to some guys. So I've started off now. This is a whole new career for me, like going into real estate. So I started off in leasing, and I did my first 3 deals done within the first month, which I was really, really happy with. And I'll touch on that a bit because I've learned something very, very quickly about it, but I'll touch on that in a second. But some of the guys I've spoken to now that are in sales and are more like, they're 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, what advice do you give me? Like, what should I be doing? Like, and they're like, you need to be working hard and a lot. You need to be phone calling. You need to be on the phone all the time. So you're every no you get, you're just closer to a yes when you're doing these cold calls. You know what I mean? But they were like, you might seem like, okay, I'm working like 12, 13, 14 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And then you're not getting paid as much as you'd like. He's like, but when you flip over and you've built up a pipeline, now you're in sales. He was like, you could get one day's payday that will make up for every hour you think you overworked a year ago. Like, and they're all like, I've spoke to like 5 or 6 guys now that I know are doing well because everything's plastered everywhere. Like, there's boards and seeing how much money people are making. There's group chats. Like every time there's a deal done, it's sent into the group chat. Everyone sees it.
Wow.
So I see the same names popping up all the time. So I spoke to these guys and they've all said the same thing. It's like, just put in the work now and it will all make more sense in like 2 years, 3 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll go into why you moved to Dubai, but more of I suppose, kind of a corollary topic to that. What made you want to leave Ireland? I mean, because you understand a lot about at least a lot more than I do about the property market in Ireland and things like that, and what it's actually like for young people and things like that. What would you say Ireland is like as a place for people who are our age, who are 25 or 26, and what made you sort of want to leave on the basis of that?
Yeah, I think the problem for me was I've always grown up with this idea that I'm like not that Irish. So like I never played GAA, don't speak any Irish, never played GAA. I think I've done
never hurled or played football.
Like 3 sessions maybe. I think I played for Moyle Rovers once. Like not played for it. I think I trained in Moyle Rovers once and then Kilsheelan back when I was really young, like 2 or 3 times, but never. I could not flick a slitter or whatever.
It's not the verb, man. Could you solo a ball or?
No, definitely not.
You couldn't cut in a sideline from the 65. No,
not even. I don't even know.
That's a joke.
I don't even know what that means. Yeah, but no, I do. But like, so I've never considered myself all that Irish, albeit I am born in Ireland.
You sound a lot more Irish than I do. I sound like a D4 head.
Yeah. My mother's like born and bred in Ireland. My father, albeit he's born in Italy, he grew up in Ireland. He moved to Ireland when he was like 5. I don't speak Italian, but I've always held more so like the Italian. I've always kind of wanted to be more Italian than I've wanted to be Irish. So one thing I'm actually going to do over here, because I'm after getting caught, I've only been in Dubai a month and it's happened 7 times where someone's like, oh yeah, what's your name? I'm like, Gino. And then they start rattling Italian to me. I'm like, oh, I don't speak Italian. I've had like a Slovakian guy start rattling Italian to me, and then he's like, oh man, what? You don't speak Italian? What? And I was like,
oh man, you'd feel like such a failure.
And I've been dealing with this a long time, and I spoke about it on one of my own videos recently. My biggest regret, I don't have many regrets in life. Even you heard me talk about past relationships that ended badly. I can find the good side of most things. My biggest regret, growing up, like we grew up fairly well. Like my parents have had their own businesses. I'm not going to hide any of that. So every summer, my dad would give me the option to move to Italy for the summer. Every single summer for as long as I can remember. He'd be like, do you want to go to Italy for the summer? We'll fly you over there. You can live with my cousin. She had like 2 daughters kind of my age. You can live with them. They don't speak English. They only speak Italian. You're a little bit of English, but go over there, spend the summer in Italy. You'll learn Italian. We'll come over at the end of August for a holiday for 2 weeks and we'll take you home then.
I actually know a bit of Italian. I'll show you how to learn languages really quickly.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that because I know you've done like Spanish like real fast, and I actually we spoke about it in our podcast. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, because I have like a lot of questions about it. But anyway, the option was then go to Italy for 3 months. Every summer I said no. Every single, and imagine I said no to it, and I don't know if you're familiar with like Ballypatrick.
Of course.
So that's where I grew up, Ballypatrick. But
the foot of Fleet them on.
Yeah, but I wasn't in like Ballypatrick where there was like people. I was in Killarney, which is like a 10-minute drive up the mountain from Ballypatrick.
Yes.
I was really in the middle of nowhere. I had one friend, Isaac Hogan. I'm not sure if you know him, but he was my he was my only friend in the area. Me and Isaac. And sure, we just like, I don't know, going on scramblers, and like he'd go on a scrambler and I'd like fall off a scrambler. We'd like find his dad's nudie magazine, like this kind of stuff. Like, but I never went, and that's my biggest regret because I know I'd speak Italian if I went there even 2 summers. Like, in 3 months living in a house where people only speak Italian in the mountains of Italy.
True immersion, yeah.
I would have learned it easily. Do you know what I mean? Especially at that age, especially when you're like 10, 11, 12, you would have learned it so fast.
Of course, yeah. So then we go into you've actually felt the Italian side more than the Irish side.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at Ireland itself,
economically wise.
I think just the reality of it for a young person. How would you assess the place.
Yeah. So what I would say is, I think people are lying, and I think people aren't looking hard enough when they say there's no opportunity in Ireland. I think there is opportunity in Ireland, and I think there is jobs in Ireland, but there's definitely jobs. Ireland's one of the best countries to work in, and it's one of the best countries to live in regards to, like, there's nothing that major that goes on. The weather's not that bad, but it's not that good either. Joe, the laws are kind of strict, but they're not that strict either. You get away with doing a lot. There's a lack of things to do that aren't surrounded around drinking, firstly. And secondly, there's a real bad, I think Irish people in general have kind of a bad attitude. Whereas everything's kind of negative, everything's a little bit shitty. People who are trying to do things are just like, idiots, or they're chancers or whatever. And I do think we're kind of slowly moving out of it. But like, when I come here and I have a conversation with someone, it's a positive conversation. And if it's not a positive conversation, I just never speak to that person again. I've literally, like, I've only been here a month. I've started talking to someone. They're like, "Oh, this is shit, that shit." I'm like, "Okay, you're just gone now." Like, but most of the people I meet here are so positive, and I think there's a huge lack of that back home.
I definitely, that's, if I could import something into Ireland, I think it would be kind of that excitability and that sort of positive expectancy.
Yeah, and also they don't like to see people doing well. And that bothers me. That bothers me so much. Because one thing I'm pretty good at is when someone's doing better than me, I'm either motivated by it or else I'm just really happy for them. Some people are like doing so much better than me that I'm like, okay, I'm not even nearly at that stage. I'm not even like motivated by that. I'm like, that's sick. Fair play. But I'm like 10 steps behind that. I'm thinking about something else. In Ireland, most of the time, people are just like, oh, fuck him.
Yeah,
and I don't like that attitude, and I think it will affect you when you're trying to do stuff that you can't be happy for other people that are doing things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. It will affect you psychologically, because
100%.
your view on things going well is negative. You will actually, it sounds woo woo, but people would probably say it's woo woo back home, but it's we won't get into that. But it is, you are subconsciously holding yourself back by detracting, by thinking people are, or thinking negative things of people for doing well. It's, if someone is doing very well, it doesn't detract from your ability to do well.
Yeah.
You should look at that. Like, if you were a mentally healthy person, you should look at that and think, yes, that actually increases my own belief to do it. Like, exactly like we were talking about the lifestyle content. You see someone not flexing, but just showing, look, here's the good life. You're thinking, okay, so this is what it looks like, and this is how this person got there, and this is possible.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
a lack of abundance mindset.
Lack of abundance
in
mindset.
Ireland as well. That's another thing.
I would say I've never felt this towards myself, but I think I purposely I'm very good at putting my head in the sand. Yeah. I don't text a lot of people. I'm not in loads of group chats. Like, I leave group chats constantly. Yeah. And stuff like that. I don't like gossip. I don't like gossip. I don't like drama. I don't like negativity. And if people are like that, I'll just mute the chat or leave. Yeah. I really, it's probably one of my only pet peeves, because it's like a cloud over your head. Yeah. And yeah, it's not very nice. So that's the mentality. Then you said opportunities in Ireland. You actually think there are plenty of opportunities. So maybe not plenty, but more than people think. Yeah. Now, so let's say for someone wanting to progress in their career in Ireland, do you think it's a good place for that? Do you think it's set up for people to thrive? What's it like for, let's say, someone who's just finished college? And
like, I think if you want to go down the route of, like, if you want to work in IT, if you want to work in banks or something like that, Ireland's great. Engineering, anything like that. There's loads of jobs there. Like, the biggest companies in the world are in Ireland. Like, and like, if you happen to be born in Italy or France, none of them opportunities are there. Italians do not have them opportunities. They all have to move to Ireland or the UK.
Yeah, we're the only EU country that speaks English now.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's such a, people. I think people don't realize how fortunate they are as well. And that, if you were, I'm sorry to interject, but,
no, you're good.
But I was chatting to Evan, my housemate. He's from Kilkenny and runs a similar enough business to myself. And I was saying to him, we were totting it up one night. We were like, I actually think Ireland is the literal best country you could possibly be born in, because it's completely safe. You're in it's tied best passport in the world. You speak native English. There's no war. We're neutral. Anywhere you go, you're loved. The food quality is some of the highest in the world. The education system is one of the best in the world. The healthcare system could maybe be better, but it's still one of the best in the world. There's no country that has an amazing healthcare system. got a very strong nuclear family dynamic, from which is one of the hangovers from having the Catholic Church ruling the place for so long. But still, that's a massive benefit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of jobs, let's say teachers could be paid more, but teachers are treated very well compared to the UK, very well compared to America. I think when you actually tot everything up and you take all the UK, I have lots of cousins in the UK. I have lots of love for the place. And like you were saying, I actually feel some connection because I have lots of English ancestry on my dad's side, hence the surname. But that country's that's a declining country. Ireland's not a declining country.
No.
It is going up.
Yeah.
Now there are many problems, housing crisis, all the rest of it. But it is. I think if you were to actually objectively assess it, there's nothing wrong with Ireland. I think from like to a degree. I think sometimes you have to say, look, if you're born in arguably the best country to be born in, and you're not, let's say, having the life you want, maybe you are the thing that needs to change.
Yeah, you need to figure it out. And like Joe, it's easy for us to say that from Dubai as well, though. Like,
but
Joe, because we've left, but like I just don't think.
What do we do to leave though?
Yeah, but that's the difference. And it's like another thing, or back on the reason why I left. It was like, for me, I've never related as I was saying, I never related that much to Irish, to like the Irish mentality, and I never knew why. And I always wanted to leave, and I never did. And I got to a stage, I was like turning 26, and I decided to come here at this point. I just turned 26, and I was like, I'm old. I was like, you're
old geezer, man.
Yeah, I was like, that's like 4 years away from 30. And then I was like, and then it comes to a stage where you need to like find a wife, you need to think about having kids and all that. And obviously, like, not at 26, but like in the next 10 years anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, defo.
And then I was kind of like trying to assess like the whole like finding a wife thing or finding a girlfriend and all that. And I was like, I don't really know if I want an Irish one either. Now, not to shut off any Irish girl from ever, but I had thought about that too. And I was like, it was just something that was kind of playing on my mind. So I was like, I knew I had to leave. And then Dubai was the only feasible option for me, in the sense of, I looked at London, I looked at Dubai, because I like London. And I know you love London as well.
Love it, yeah.
And for me, I was like, okay, sales is what I'm doing. So I have to go English speaking. And I want to go somewhere that I can make money. So I could have went to London and I could have done car sales, which I looked into, and the money would have been good. But like, London's tax heavy, and it is expensive to live there, where it is cheaper to live here. Kind of. It's dearer to live here than people think.
Yes, but when you factor in tax, it's cheap enough.
When you factor in the tax, then it changes a lot. Like, yeah. And that's why I chose. And then it was kind of the weather. That was the other thing. I was like, I'd like to live somewhere that's fucking hot for a while at least. Like, so that was kind of how I ended up in Dubai, basically. Like,
interesting, yeah. And we were chatting about when you were visiting Dubai. We were chatting about how you were kind of getting on there and what you were thinking. It seemed pretty instant. You were like, yeah, done.
Yeah, I think the first day I got here, at the time as well, and it was only a month ago.
In September, was it, when you first visited?
Yeah. So
that would have been roasting. Or was it August when you visited?
It was like the 31st of August, so it was September based. It was really hot, which I expected, so that wasn't the end of the world. But it was like, I wasn't great at being on my own. Now, since then, I've actually learned to enjoy my own company a lot more, like in the last month, let's say. But at the time, I remember I was kind of there on my own. I was like wandering around the place, and I was like, oh, I might just go home. And then straight away, I caught myself, and I was like, give it a chance. I was like, give yourself a second to actually enjoy this place. So after like a day or two, I started like meeting kind of a few people around, talking to a few people. And then I started to realize more so and more so. I was like, yeah, I think this is where. I remember texting you. I was like, I'm going to move here. And then I moved here. That was like, I came home on the 6th of September and I moved back over here on the 31st of September then.
Interesting, yeah. And you met a lot of people very quickly as well, which helps a lot.
I met a lot of people. So I went to like jiu-jitsu the first night I got here. So I met like 2 or 3 lads there, an Irish guy, a Russian guy, an American guy. So I chatted to them loads. And then I met Adam, your friend, and some guys that he knew. That was like the 4th or 5th day. So then straight away, I all of a sudden knew like 7 people in Dubai, and it was just like, it's only been a few days. And since I've gotten here, my job is so social. I feel like I know like 100 people now, because we're working in an office and we're all kind of the same age. Then we went on the yacht party. So I've like, after gaining some people then from that I also know now and talk to regularly. Mainly
the Nelk boys, so you'd be talking to
regularly. Yeah, I'll be me and Kyle are just over and back. Yeah. But like, even like Kieran, like I've talked to him quite a lot since I met him at the dinner we went to. And then there's some other guys from like Kerry and Galway, and then like my new barber. And you pick up all these friends along the way, like, and like, yeah, it's just a load of Irish and English people, really, like, that's what it is. But they're still new people, and they're different, and they're all out here for a reason.
On the same wavelength.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the huge difference here, like.
Very interesting. So then, I suppose where would you see? I suppose the next couple of years, in a sense. I mean, I kind of have it in my head I'd be here about 5 years or something like that. I don't know why that number is in my head, and I've kind of, I mean 5 years including next year.
Yeah.
So I don't mean including this year that I haven't been here all year, but like domiciled here and stuff like that. What do you have in your head as a rough plan? Plans can change, but what do you have for the next couple of years?
I had in my head coming out here at least till I'm 30, which is 4 years. And then when I thought about it, I was like, well, 4 years isn't long enough. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It depends how much money I make. Like, really, at the end of the day, I like it here. I do like it here a lot. I could see myself here for a long time. But I also do want to live in other places. But again, it depends on what business I have, what kind of money I'm making. Like, I'd love to have somewhere in London. I would love to I want to do a stint in London. I don't know what it is. I just love London. It's
some things call out to you, don't they?
And then I'd love to have somewhere in Italy also. But like, you can only spend so much time in Italy because it is difficult to work there, unless it's a business like you had, you know what I mean, where you can work from pretty much anywhere. Like, but for me, more than likely, whatever I do end up having is going to be more like kind of, you know, like with sales, it's often like more like, let's say if it's cars or property or whatever, you have to be in a location to do it, which is fine. It's just kind of the route I've ended up going down. So I don't know, but I do think like it's probably a 10-year minimum play, even though it doesn't feel like it's going to be. I think it very, very well could turn it, because time goes fast. Yeah. Time goes super fast, like.
It does, yeah. It does, yeah. It's hard to think. I think my junior service 10 years ago, man.
Yeah.
No, actually would have been 9 years ago, but yeah.
And that time just...
Similar thing, a decade, basically.
Yeah, and it goes really fast, like.
So do you think long-term, based off what you were saying on, I suppose, your identity, in a sense, like national identity, and just how you like Ireland in general, or how you like it at home, do you think it's likely where you'd settle long term? I go back and forth on this. I think there are like two halves inside me. One wants to just go into politics and be like the Taoiseach. Like that's like 50% of me. Then the other 50% of me wants to be like Julio Iglesias or Aristotle Onassis going around the Mediterranean on a yacht. And
yeah, me and Sam always joke that you're going to be Taoiseach. We always joke about it. Like,
I'd actually. I've words getting caught in my mouth. I've always said that to my mother since I was a kid, that I wanted to be a teacher. I don't know why.
It's a weird thing. Yeah, it's a really weird thing to be.
A bit of megalomania in there, but it wouldn't be that hard in Ireland. It's a tiny country. You look at, like, look at Elmy Hall. He's not the race altogether. Like, not even. You don't even need to know his policies, like like inside and out. But you can just hear by the way he talks and. So, and some of the things he comes out with, you're like, geez, how are you? You're not really that intelligent at all, man.
Yeah. The only thing it is, like, with politics in Ireland, it's kind of all, parochial. In my opinion, it's just like, it is what it is. Whether it's Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, they're all doing the same thing, and the same thing just happens all the time. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter who's in there. And then, like I don't know that much about politics, to be fair. I don't, and I don't really get involved in it. But, you know, all these people are like, oh, we need to bring in Sinn Féin. And I was like, do we? I was like, for what? Like, I was like, what are Sinn Féin going to do? Like, you know, and then it's like, and then again, and I'm also, and this is far more down your street, and maybe you can correct me, but like, you know, it's not that long ago that Sinn Féin were making an absolute mess of the place as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's an 800-year history to that, isn't there?
So
like, as in us in the south, we sold Catholics in the north out to the wolves. Like, you know, like that's the darkest spot in our history, and it doesn't get told at all.
Yeah,
like Irish Republic of Ireland history is built on a couple of lies, like outright lies. Do you know? I don't want to get into that like in a soundbite. There's one thing I was going to say there. I don't think that'd be wise to say it on a recorded kind of place, but there's an inherent hypocrisy there. that I think if you give any effort to learning the history at all for any Irish person listening to this, you'll kind of realize that, you know, the pantomime description of the good IRA and the bad IRA is just that, a pantomime.
Yeah.
It's literally the good IRA and the bad IRA. Boo. You know, when it's, you know, the old IRA murdered more innocent people.
Yeah.
Than the pro was. But it's not all human life is sacred. So you can't equate that and say, you know, whatever. But I do agree with that. I wouldn't be a fan of the Shinners and like trying to bring them in. It's interesting, but your other exploits are kind of there in Ireland with the kind of property and stuff like that that you're kind of interested in. I mean, that kind of naturally brings us to that. Is Ireland a good place to invest?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you can get somewhere in Ireland, I think it's so hard to buy in Ireland that it's a good place to do it, as long as you're getting it at the right price. And I see that with people here too, buying stuff in Dubai. People are just buying things for the sake of it. You can't buy for the sake of it. You can't just buy something just to own something, because there's no point. And like there is a lot of empty places in Dubai. So when you look at Ireland, okay, there's a lot less empty places, but eventually they're going to get on top of things. Eventually they're going to start building again, and eventually, you know, there won't be this housing crisis, because countries always go in and out of crisis. Do you know what I mean? I was very lucky with my property I got in Ireland, where I got it at a good price. I was able to buy it off someone I knew. Location wise, yeah, it's not great, but it's still just in the middle of Clonmel. Clonmel is kind of a dying town, which is a shame, but I do think eventually that might come back around as well. They just need to get on top of like their rates and their problems with that. Like, yeah, I think buying property in Ireland, if you're planning on staying there, is a good move. But people always have it in their head like, oh, you buy property and you're stuck to this place. You can just sell the property. You can just sell it. You can sell anything. Like, yeah. I think for me, like, obviously my parents live back in Ireland. Family wise, like, I have a small family, so it's just me, my sister, my mum, and my dad. My sister's just finishing 5th year now in mechanical engineering, and she wants to move to Copenhagen. That's her plan.
Interesting choice of.
Yeah.
Copenhagen is quite. It's not necessarily. It's a bit off the beaten track, isn't it?
Yeah. So she wanted to go. She was looking at I think Berlin, Copenhagen, and Amsterdam, or the Netherlands. Because when she's mechanical engineering, these are the places you want to work. And so she went and visited them all, I think, and then she just liked Copenhagen the most. So that's her plan. But look, come here, she's a 4'11" female going into mechanical engineering. She'll get a job anywhere. she feels like the diversity.
Yeah,
thing
we got quotas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can show that to any government visitor there. And
I always say to her, she's just like shaking her head. Obviously, like she works extremely hard to get like a 1-1 in mechanical engineering. But I just make jokes because she's a midget and she's a girl. But anyway, no. So that's her plan. So like, and then my parents, like, they love going away. Like, sure, they love going on holidays. They both have their own businesses. My dad's like kind of semi-retiring now. He's like 64. He's working less, just getting people, like, just have staff doing more. And my mother, like, she's a dance teacher. She's had the same business since she was like 14. So like, I don't know if any of them are too stuck on Ireland. I don't know. I don't know if I could to answer the question, long and short of it. I don't know if I could see myself settling in Ireland. I think if I did settle in Ireland, I'd settle in Galway.
Interesting.
Yeah, I something I really like about Galway. Really, really good feeling up there, and I think it's probably the fastest growing town in Ireland.
Yeah. Probably some things you don't like about Galway as well.
There's loads I don't like. There's loads I don't like about Galway, but for the most part, Galway's a good spot. Like,
I was visiting like my oldest living relative there. He lives out in Connemara. Who's he did a lot of like work in like the Irish government when it was first a republic.
Yeah.
With T.K. Whitaker, who if you're loosely into Irish history, you'll be a big Michael Collins fan. If you're really into it, you'll be a big T.K. Whitaker fan.
Right, okay.
But like that was one question I asked him. I was like, "What do you think of T.K. Whitaker?" And he's very old. He's very low energy. Of course, he's in his 90s, and his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. And he was like, "Oh, he was a great man." But yeah, no, I was thinking about this of living in Ireland. Yeah, when I always have it in my. I feel very Irish. Like I very much feel that in my heart. There will be a point where I'll live in the Gaeltacht for a bit and I'll just fully pick up the language again. Because when I was in 6th year, I had a great Irish teacher and stuff like that. Irish was probably my favorite subject. But what I think I like about Ireland is my theoretical conception of Ireland.
Yeah,
it's what I project onto Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, the kind of forlorn gaze home sort of a thing. But practically, when I'm there, I'm like, there are other places I would rather be.
Yeah, the reality of Ireland is very different than the thoughts of Ireland. Like, yeah.
Exactly. You're projecting onto this of, you know,
It's gotten rough too,
yeah, it has gotten kind of rough.
which is not to be looked over.
Yeah, I think in some ways we kind of trail around 15 years behind the UK socially in some ways. And sometimes there were certain, never really felt unsafe in London, but, you know, I am very large as well. So I think if you were a girl living in London, I actually don't think you'd walk outside at night.
Yeah.
By yourself, which isn't to be sexist, but it just is
No,
the
I'm
case.
sure
And like, I know some people say, some people would disagree with that, but like, I don't think girls in many places can actually walk outside alone in certain cities. Like they just can't. Like it actually is unsafe.
Yeah.
But when you go through it by process of elimination, I'm like, would I live in Clonmel? Probably not. Would I live in Dublin? No. I would look at the north, like we were both saying.
Yeah.
I actually would look at, and I have loads of friends from the north, particularly from Armagh and from Derry and from Belfast.
I love Derry. Derry is
a great spot. You know, I could see myself living in Cork. You know, kind of obviously I have my business partners from Cork, loads of friends in Cork. But then when I whittle it down, I'm like, don't know, would I?
No, because
it's like theoretically I'm thinking, yeah, no, I'll definitely go back to Ireland. But then practically I'm like, probably not.
Yeah. I'd say we're about time up, are we?
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
No, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
But yeah, so yeah, from that perspective, yeah, do you think, I mean, I wouldn't see myself in Dubai when I'm 50.
No, and old people don't live here.
Old people don't live
here.
Old
Old people do not live here. And I've learned that very, very quickly. And it's actually a thing I read. Old people don't live here. And I get why. It's actually not that practical here. Like, you have to kind of drive everywhere. You can't go for like, okay, it's fine. Like if you're living in downtown, you can like walk to the mall and stuff like that. But like if you're living in Business Bay, you can't really walk anywhere. So you can like, even when I was coming here to get a coffee, I had to like cross like 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
Now there was no traffic there, so I just ran across the road. But like, it wasn't ideal to have to do it. If you're an older person, this isn't really the place to live, I don't think. I've met a few in work now, like landlords and stuff that are older, but they don't spend all year here. And so, no, I couldn't see myself being a 50 or 60-year-old man living in Dubai.
Yeah.
Could I see myself being a 56-year-old man living in Ireland?
I think I'll probably live in Spain.
Yeah, I know. I think that's where you'll end up as well. And Spain's progressing.
Spain is progressing.
You can live in somewhere like Madrid or Barcelona, and they're proper cities. Like,
loads of friends there in Madrid, and and also the one that got away in Madrid as well. So you just have like an emotional pull to it of like, you know, once again a theoretical conception. But I did really enjoy my time there.
Yeah,
and obviously you speak the language fluently, and
that's huge. You know, speaking the language is huge, and
I love the food, love the culture, love the music, love their pub setup, love their going out. Like they're not. That's
what I miss.
Like we go out and get leathered. Like,
yeah, they don't do that.
They sip away and they chat. And what Spaniards love more than anything in life is spending a whole weekend day with their friends for literally 12 hours, and genuinely, like they will talk about football results all the way to like metaphysics in a conversation, genuinely, and I will get lost at like the metaphysics part, of course, but they have really deep conversation. That's a huge social pillar of theirs. People don't realize they're actually very philosophical, introspective people on the whole, and also very direct and funny.
It's that Europe. It's actually all of Europe. Like in Italy, it's the same thing. They don't meet up to get like really, really drunk. They meet up and they'll have like a bottle of wine or two between like 5 of them. And they'll just smoke cigarettes and sit in like the square and they'll just talk for hours. And that's so nice. And that's one thing I do. It's funny. I say I miss it. You don't have it in Ireland either. But being in Dubai, there's no like square.
Yeah.
You know, and I do miss that. So like I'm longing for, like my friends are going to Poland now at the end of January. And they were like, oh, you should come to Poland now. I thought we were a lot closer to Poland than we're actually quite. It was like 7-hour flight. But I was like, I think I'm going to go.
Sure, I did a quick trip to Amsterdam back and forth. It's a 7-hour flight.
It's only 7 hours. Do you know what I mean? It's actually not that bad. It's just the thought of 7 hours on the plane is a killer.
Yeah, but that square is missing. And like meanwhile, like us just online business bros and like real estate bros just, you know, meeting up, getting fucked up on nicotine and doing no work on our MacBooks. Do you know, like that's the whole culture. But at least trying. But no, I think that's an interesting pod, man. I mean, it would be interesting to see where we go. We'll definitely do another pod and just take stock of like how you're getting on in Dubai more so, because I sort of I didn't feel like I settled in perfectly instantly, and now I feel really settled here. I'm really enjoying it.
Because you were worried about coming back.
I was in some ways, just but I actually really like it here now. I really see the merit of it, and it's just it is like it is what it is in the sense of it's we're building a city in this exact way. Like a lot of people won't like it, but some of you will, and we're building it for the people who will like it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to come here.
And it's easy to work here. It's easy to do 14-hour days in Dubai.
Yeah.
Like a lot easier than anywhere else I've ever been. Like
Very easy,
Yeah.
even with all there is to do. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
And actually, just for your socials as well, where can people find you? I know you have TikTok, you have YouTube, and all that kind of stuff.
YouTube is Sam and Gino, just Sam and Gino. Instagram Gino Forte 97. TikTok just Gino Forte. If you type in Gino Forte anywhere, I'm pretty much the only one. I think there's like one other guy. So Gino Forte pretty much anywhere. Twitter is like Gino F147. That's a load of nonsense. My Twitter, you're probably better off not following that. But YouTube Sam and Gino. TikTok is where I'm doing most of my work now at the moment. TikTok and then Instagram. So you'll find it all there. If you go to my Instagram, everything's linked on my link tree. So that's probably the easiest way.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks for coming on the pod. Appreciate it, bro. And yeah, we'll get you on one fairly soon.
We'll do another one again. Cheers,
Absolutely.
good man. Thank you.